You're listening to the Comic Crusaders Podcast. I am your host, Al Mega, CEO of Comic Crusaders and Undercover Capes. In this show, I'm sitting down with creators from all walks of life to talk about inspiration, process, the lessons they've learned, and a whole lot more. Wepa! What up, man? This is your boy, Al Mega. Welcome to a brand new Comic Crusaders Podcast. And today we have an amazing independent comic crusader that hails from parts unknown. Now, you're gonna be getting into it. You're gonna find out. You're gonna find out how not unknown it is because he'll be blowing it up. He was a video editor, and he got some dope projects out there. Let me introduce the one, the only, the very multi-talented individual, the one, the only Clarence Dass. That's that right?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you for the kind introduction. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Now, my brother, you rock, man. Thanks for hanging out with me today and talking a bit about yourself and where you hail from. On top of that, old comics influence and what you got going, because you got some dope stuff. I mean, so I can't wait to start learning some history here with you. It's fantastic. Always love learning. So, let it be known, all right, to the folks out there, where are you from? And what was your first love in the whole fandom?
Okay. Well, I come from Fiji. I'm in Fiji right now. So if you see me like sort of wiping my face a bit, it's very hot here. It's all year round. Yeah. Oh man, I'm jealous of you. I wish I could be sitting here in a hoodie instead of trying to take stuff off. But yeah, no, I come from Fiji, and I've grown up here. I lived here my whole life. But we've been fortunate, even though we are in the middle of the Pacific, so far away from the U.S. and all that. We grew up with a lot of the all the cool stuff out of the U.S. made it here. So we grew up on the Transformers. We grew up on the He-Man. We had comic books, Batman, Superman, that kind of stuff. But the cool thing is, in Fiji, probably when I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, aside from the stuff that was coming out of the States, we had a lot of like things like the Phantom comics out of Australia and Europe, or we had like Asterix and like the Smurfs and things like that. A lot of European comics, and that's probably because of maybe the British influence, because we used to be a sort of like a British colony up until the 70s. So a lot of that influence brought a lot of European comics in here. So yeah, so growing up, I had a lot of the Phantom, Asterix before I started buying Batman and Judge Dredd out of the UK, things like that.
Nice. So you really had that nice, very mixed. So what was the first love though? What was the first thing that attracted you, that you fell in love with? In all of fandom, doesn't have to be particularly comics, but what was the thing that got you in?
No, I fell really hard for Batman from a very young age. I still remember. We had somehow even my first birthday cake was a Batman cake. Just not because of me as a baby wanting a Batman cake. Just my parents had the foresight to get me a Batman cake. So that's really cool. But we used to they knew. And we had a corner shop down the road from me. I honestly remember. I remember getting off the bus when I was like 6 years old, coming back from school, stopping at the corner shop and seeing. I think it was Detective Comics 603. It's the one with Batman just driving down the road, smashing his car into another car. And I remember that because that's like my earliest memory of buying my first comic. I got it for $1.
Oh, nice.
$1 Fijian, which is like 50 cents US. So. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, where's that? Got a lot of comics out there.
Yeah, man, and so I just got into it. So I would buy one almost every day, and I would just that time it had like.
Where were you getting that money from, young man?
Oh, my dad would give me. I grew up with my grandfather for the longest time. It was just my granddad and I, and you know how grandparents spoil their kids, huh? So he would give me like my lunch money, and I would save my lunch money sometimes just so I could buy 2 comics in the afternoons.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
You go starving for books. You see, folks, the sacrifice that us nerds go through. Don't even. We sacrifice our stomachs lunch. We go weak throughout the day so we can reach the comic shop and get our books.
Yeah, man. I mean, that was the way. And I would buy it, and I would just I was actually a very slow read. I didn't start reading properly till I was about 8 or 9. But the
Oh wow.
pictures, like, yeah, I know, crazy, yeah,
Uh,
like, just that's just me. It's not an indication of the school system in Fiji
No,
or
no, no.
anything. Just me. I
I
just,
understand. Your
yeah, I
interest
just,
wasn't there
it
like that.
wasn't something I did. Yeah, I didn't. I would just play or ride my bike, or because we got jungles and
I did
beaches and
everything.
things. We
I
just,
was
yeah, we just, we
reading. I was doing comics. I was playing outside. I was doing it all.
mm,
Yeah,
yeah. So I
give me it
never,
all.
yeah, do it all. So I really reading comics got me into reading. So like I read. By the time I was 9, I was reading like Dracula and Frankenstein and things like that. But before that, I
Oh
didn't.
damn!
I
Then he
Yeah, I wasn't
evolved.
in.
He started
It just
surpassing
jumped. Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
Were you alone in your fandom growing up? Or did you have a tribe of fellow collectors and fans?
um, when I was in primary school, when I was a kid in primary school, not many collectors. As I got into high
Okay,
school, I ran into a lot of people who were like, yeah, X-Men fans and
that's
sort of
cool.
Fantastic Four fans and Spider-Man fans. We had a lot of DC stuff, but we had a lot of Marvel comics. Like for every Batman comic or a Superman comic we'd pick up, there'd be like Uncanny X-Men, or the four Spider. I think there were four Spider-Man books out at the time, so we had a lot of that. So a lot of
I'm pretty
Spider-Man
sure
fans, and
everybody
yeah.
be
So
overdosing at that in that era. All types.
yeah, yeah, no, yeah, and
Exclusive.
the thing is, we'd get it like maybe 6 months late out of the states, but we caught it.
Oh
But we had all
wow.
the stories. We had like we would have like the Extinction Agenda. We had like the trial of Peter Parker. We got all that, but like, yeah, probably
I'm
about
pretty
5 or 6
happy.
months.
I'm pretty sure you were happy there was no internet then, because if you were getting it 6 months late, you would have been
Oh
pissed
yeah,
off
yeah, the
getting spoiled
spoilers.
on the
Yeah,
internet,
no,
right?
definitely, definitely. And we'd get them in these packs of 5. It was two
Pack of
dollars, two
five.
dollars fifty for a pack of 5 comics. So whoever's at the bookstore would just randomly sort of package them. And they were
Okay.
sealed. So you buy a pack of 5, and then you go to school and you're like, I've got like 2 X-Men number 73 or whatever. Like,
Oh
what have you
wow,
got?
like
Oh,
that that random.
yeah,
They didn't even
just
look.
randomly. They didn't. There was no, they didn't
Duplicates?
look.
That's foul.
Crazy, yeah. I know. They would
Hey, at
just
least you
grab a
could trade
pile.
though. That's pretty cool. Trade
Yeah,
bait. I
yeah.
love it.
So that
Are
that
you
lived the
sure it wasn't
culture.
a newsstand and on direct? Because I always compare.
Oh man, I at the time I didn't really know about what the difference was between newsstand and direct, so I'm not really
Yeah.
sure what it was. Yeah, but that's the
Maybe
way
you
we
did
that's the way
have
it
two,
was.
but not necessarily two.
Maybe. Yeah.
Too funny. Now I got him
Mm-mm.
thinking like, oh my god, what did I just give away? Awesome.
Yeah.
So talk about you then growing up and getting into creativity.
Okay. Yeah.
What was that spark?
I started. I would draw my own Spider-Man comics. Because we
Cool.
didn't get comics like every month. We would get them in batches. So like maybe in a month or two, you would just buy everything in the shop. Then you got to wait like 3 months for the next shipment
Oh,
to arrive. And as a,
poor
so as a
guys.
kid,
I'm so sorry.
yeah, crazy, yeah. So as a kid, I would just start drawing my own Spider-Man comics. I would just like come up with weird adventures, and I would do crossovers. I always had him
Shout
hanging
out
out with
Mayhem.
Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then from there, I would always, but my crazy thing was my grandmother, she hated me reading comics for some reason. She thought it was like rotting my brain or something. She thought I had to
She's from the
focus more.
50s era. See, it
I
was the
guess, yeah.
50s era when comic book burning was like the rage and the cool thing to do.
She
Man,
burnt my books.
what?
She
No,
did,
stop
yeah.
lying.
I'm not kidding,
No,
bro. No, seriously. When I was about 10 years old,
grandma.
yeah, man. She lives with me now. I've never forgotten it, but she lives with me now. I got to remind
Used
her
to
about
look
that.
at her and be, you lucky you live with me after burning my comics.
Yeah, true,
Grandma,
man. But
you
yeah,
you
so
you live your days are numbered, son.
but I started again. I started collecting again. But yeah, it was a lot of stuff that
Wait
was
a minute.
hand.
I gotta
Yeah.
understand something here. Wait,
Mm,
wait, before we even get into the spark,
mm-mm.
now this makes me laugh because she despised you reading comics. She burned your shit, and here you are today making comics. How
Right.
does she feel about this? I gotta know
Oh,
grandma feeling.
she's pretty proud of me. She
She got
But there's a
over it.
lot of, yeah, she got over it.
Okay.
She like, I think after a while, when I started working and doing my own thing, I think there's a phase that some parents go through. They have an idea of what they want for their kids, and
Yeah.
she was born in the 40s. She has her set
See,
ways.
proof.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so
She was
and
during
I
that
can
burning book age. Okay, but
for some reason, in some way, she thought that would put me on a track to something. I don't know. Yeah, but
uh,
it
the
didn't deter
devil's
me.
books.
Yeah,
Excellent. I'm happy that it didn't deter you. Excellent. All
no.
right. So you got in your path of creativity. How? Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yes. So no. So I thought I would do that. And the funny thing is, it wasn't like I would read comics all the time, and then like when I got into high school, I didn't draw as much as I used to in primary schools. I would just, but I would still religiously read them. Like I would do like Heroes Rebirth, Apocalypse, all that kind of stuff. That was like the happening at the time. They
Yeah.
had and that, so I was really into that stuff. But the funny thing was, it wasn't until I picked up, of all things, this indie book called Johnny the Homicidal Maniac by Jonan
Johnny
Vasquez.
Vasquez. Yeah.
Yeah, so I
Okay.
I picked that up, and that and like just the thing. Okay, I used to be in a punk band.
Oh,
I grew
word?
up
Oh, wait
listening.
a
Yeah,
minute. You were in a
yeah, so
punk band.
yeah, I was
Oh,
in a
you
punk
doing
band.
in a punk band.
I was a guitarist and I sang a bit.
Say what?
And
Oh, what? I ain't
uh,
fucking with you in karaoke then.
well, I love karaoke. No, but the only reason I bring that up is because like I grew up listening to like Iron Maiden and Metallica and Slayer and all these things. But
Whoa,
I never
the
wanted to
good
play
stuff.
like an yeah, but I never but it wasn't until I started listening to punk and grunge, I started listening to like Nirvana and the Sex Pistols and things, and I was like, hey, I can play those chords. I could start a punk band. Like I never thought of. I don't think I could play like "Hollowed by Thy Name" or something, or like, but I
Say
could play like I
word.
could play like a punk song. So that's the way. When I saw Jonan Vasquez, and it's no like discredit to his work. I love his work, but the simplicity of it and like the style of it, I was like, hey, I can do this. I
Yeah.
can do this. I can't draw like I don't know, like JR, or I can't
Yeah.
do
You ain't
something
Jim
like
Lee,
yeah,
but you got
yeah,
something,
yeah,
right?
so I started doing that. So I my very first comic was this thing called it was a total ripoff of like Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. It was called Vinny the Soul Drinker. It's this is guy going around
Oh
stealing
God.
people's souls. Yeah, it was it
Okay.
it, it, it was fun though. You draw it, you give it to your friends, and you have a laugh.
That's how you
Yeah,
did it, just with amongst your friends. Not did you really
yeah, yeah.
put it
No,
out
it
there?
never
Just
got
amongst
published
friends.
or anything.
Okay.
No, just amongst the friends.
So
Yeah.
how did your friends really react though? Or did a drunken night you say, "Hey, everybody, by the way, check this out," or was it just gradually you were like, "Hey,
Oh
what do you
no, yeah,
think?"
they were into it. They loved it, and I would sort of
Okay.
I would like I had an idea in my head, but I would just draw all the cool bits. I didn't draw like a whole book. I might draw like 4 pages here or 6 pages there, and there was sort of like there was some coherence to it, and I would like, hey, check out these 4 pages, check out these 3 pages, and it was
Okay.
cool. And yeah, my friends they would have a laugh, or they'd comment on the drawings and stuff, and it was nice just to sort of for the longest time everything I would do was just to sort of entertain my friends. If
Okay.
they thought it was cool, I was happy. They were like my benchmark.
So when
Yeah.
did the so when the once you hit the benchmark, when did you take the dive?
Okay. So
Really
I
take the
start.
dive.
Yeah. So I about just before COVID, I was drawing. I was just. I mean, I never stopped drawing. I did visual arts. I'd always do sketches and stuff, and I would do storyboards for my videos and things like that. And then I was really into Swamp Thing. I got into Swamp Thing just before
I love
COVID.
Swamp Thing, yeah, bro.
Yeah, I love him. And
Which
then
one did you get into?
I started like from the right from the Bernie Wrightson stuff.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
Yes,
I
what
went
a boss! You went straight, you
right from
straight
the
for the best
beginning.
stuff.
Yeah, and I love the Alan Moore stuff, but I started right there from the Bernie Wrightson stuff.
Oh,
And I love monster comics. I love monsters in general. So I was thinking about Swamp Thing. And living in Fiji, we are just surrounded by mangroves. We call it the dongo, which is like these black mangrove
oh,
swamps.
what? How you pronounce it again?
Dongo. It's
Dongo.
DOGO, but
O-
pretend there's an N in the middle. Yeah.
Okay.
So dongo. Yeah.
The
So
invisible end, Dongo. Okay.
yeah, a lot of the Fijian language has these sort of the funny thing is
Invisible
like when
letters.
yeah, invisible letters, the C is pronounced the instead of ka.
What? That.
Yeah, so so like it's like we have places called like Zole Suva, but it's spelled CO. It's not Kole Suva, it's Zole Suva.
Totally, Suva.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a interesting thing with the language here.
Oh, thank God. Yeah, I'm asking because if I go there, I would be so lost That would be like,
Oh
what are you
no, no, no.
saying to me?
Everybody speaks English in Fiji. So
Okay,
everybody
thank
speak.
God.
Most people will speak two languages. They'll do they learn English in high
They'll
school and
understand what
primary
I'm
school.
trying to say.
100%. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, but yes. So just getting back. So I got into the Swamp Thing, and I was thinking, like, and then I started just reading all kinds of Swamp Monster comics. Man Thing, the Heap, um, the
Ooh,
Bog
oh
Beast from
wow.
like, yeah,
This
like
dude said,
just
"Oh my God, the Barbies! Look at this guy. You
yeah.
you you started digging deep, son.
Just
Say
started digging deep,
word,
and I thought like every
man.
major publication or every publication has their version of a swamp monster.
But
So I wanted to do one. So I came up with the Mangrove.
the mangrove.
Yeah, I'll send you a drawing of. So it was pretty, but I tied it to like because in like in Fiji you have this thing. It's called the Vanua. The Vanua. It's the spirit of the land. Like the
Okay.
people have a connection to the lands. So his backstory was he's like a fallen warrior brought back by the land. So he's like made of like vines and wood and mangrove bits, and he's sort of just out to protect the people.
Okay. But the
Yeah.
bits
So
I made of are native to the land, right?
yeah, yeah. So that was
Okay,
like I
bad.
started drawing that. That was like my first book. I started drawing, and I started that book maybe 6 or 7 times. I never thought I was good enough as an
Okay.
artist to like do a comic. And so I would start it. I would draw a
But
couple of
what
pages. I
was
would shoot.
that? What made you such a self-defeatist at that time?
I I I I never I just didn't consider myself like an like an artist. I draw, but like what is an artist? Like I don't know. I
He
just
got
never
mad
thought it was.
philosophical. What is an
Yeah,
artist?
what is an artist? So I just
Well,
and then
how did you overcome that though? Just for people that go through that as well, I mean, because there's so many people that are just so badass, but they go through those moments. So because you're badass yourself, how dare you even try? But
thank
how did
you.
you overcome those moments?
Well, eventually I just got to a point where um I started exploring a lot of different styles of art. And plus I'm into stuff like the Max, where like it's such
Oh yeah,
exaggeration in
Jackie,
art
yeah, but
styles, and I was
absolutely,
like, then I was like, and I started I got to a point where I was like, as long as my art is good enough to get across what I want to share. It doesn't have to be Jim Lee. It doesn't have to be,
Mobius,
anything else.
right?
Mobius, I love Mobius. Doesn't have to be Mobius. But if
He's
someone
fire.
picks up my book and they can just get the story that I want to share, that's what I wanted. So I
Yeah,
started practicing things like perspective and then anatomy and things like that, just to
on
get
your
the.
own or through schools.
Oh no, no, just through YouTube videos and things like that, or
Hey, the new
yeah,
college.
the new college, yeah, or just life drawings. I would sit around and just draw
Nice.
things in my spare time when I'm at the uni. Um, so yeah, I just wanted my art to just be able to get across whatever I want to share. If it's good enough to share what I share, that's okay. I was happy
Excellent.
with it. Yeah.
Excellent. So talk about them putting it really out there for the real stuff, putting it out there. What was that learning curve like when you started learning to put a real project together and then put it out there?
Well, the first thing I did was well, okay. Aside from what really built my confidence as a comic artist was I did a short Batman fan comic. I think it was like 16 pages or something, and I shared it through Imager, and
Yeah,
yeah,
either
yeah,
tomato,
either or,
tomato, it's all
yeah, and then
right.
it and like in like overnight, I kid you not, it got like 150,000, 155,000 views or something.
What?
Yeah, it was, and
Your phone
I
was
was
banging
shocked.
all night, right? You're like, what the
Yeah,
hell?
just like I had it on silent. I woke up in the
Huh,
morning and people were just loving it, and I was like, "Whoa, this is crazy! I did this for fun. Like,
amazing.
why? I can't believe people." And I
What a
thought,
good
and
morning.
yeah, but even then, I was like, "Nah, this is some kind of fluke." And then I did
Yeah.
like this Ninja Turtle Predator comic, and that got like
Ooh,
maybe like in two nights or 2 days, it had like 100,000 views and shares and
what?
likes and stuff. Yeah, and then I was like, well,
Nice.
maybe I should do. And then I got a friend. He's like my buddy at
Nice.
work, Michael John. He's like, you should just do an original comic. Stop doing all this. Do something you can sell or something. And even then, I wasn't convinced. And the only reason my book the book that Salinialo. This the only reason this book is out is because I'm doing a unit. I'm studying
Show
Pacific
that again.
Studies.
Show that
Oh,
again.
there we
Show that
go.
again. Look at
There,
that.
there we go.
Ooh. Oh, look at that cover. Hey,
Thank
beautiful
you.
cover. Yep.
Thank you. Yeah, the only reason this even happened was I was studying. I am studying Pacific Studies, which is like a cultural program at USP. It teaches you about like art and history of the region, and what and the units you can do a research project. You have to do a research project. It's a postgraduate course. So I asked my professor. I was like, "Hey, could I do a comic book?" It's either a comic book or I have to write like a 20,000 word essay or something, you know. And I was like, I don't want to write a
Comic book,
20,000
please.
word essay. I want to. Can I do a comic book? And he was like, that'll be great if you can work your research into a comic book. That'll be awesome. So I started researching this thing called the 100 Nights, which is it's a tradition in Fiji. When someone passes away, there's 100 nights of ritual that people go through, and traditionally they believe what they do in these 100 nights, it affects the spirit on their journey in the afterlife.
Oh.
So that's what the book is about. The book
Is it like
is the
having
spirit.
cheerleaders when you get in judge?
Yeah, I guess it's things like they won't eat his favorite they won't eat his favorite meal, so he can have his favorite meal in the afterlife, you know,
Oh man, no
or they'll
lasagna for them.
no let's
Man, no
well here
penne, none of that good stuff.
here we have things like lovo, which is
What's lobo?
a lovo is like a it's it's a it's like a roast done in the earth. They make like an earth oven. They'll dig a massive pit. They'll put these coals
Alright.
down, put these rocks down, put all the meat. You have your giant like pork and beef and whatever the chicken. They'll put it in there and they'll slow cook it for like 8 hours.
Oh.
Uh, It is yeah, it's delicious. It is the best. It is the best thing. And then the meat will
Well,
just fall off the bone. And
I
so
need you, Addy. We're going to a cookout, Clarence.
yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, so that's how the comic book started, and then I would share it online. I was on the Facebook page for for another YouTube channel, and they have like a community on Facebook, and so I would share my artwork, and then the this wonderful guy Sean Robinson from Living the Line, he was like, I love what you're doing with this art for this book. Can I have a look at it? You know, and I was like, yeah, sure. I sent him a copy of the book, and he
Sure.
loved. Yeah, I thought nothing of it. I was doing it as part of a research project,
Love it.
no pressure on myself to be doing it.
Wonderful.
And
Yeah.
then he's like, I love it. I want to publish it. And then
Published, he says.
yeah, he won, and I was shocked. I was like, what is this guy
You were like, what
on?
do you mean published?
Yeah,
Talking
like he was
about
like full
Willis.
on. We're gonna print it. We're gonna publish it. We're gonna put it out there for you. And I was like,
Whoa.
that is. I was so lucky. I was so fortunate. You know,
Whoa.
I did it. I thought I was gonna like print a couple of copies for my friends and just give it out, and it's just gone way beyond what I could have hoped for,
How
and I'm so grateful.
amazing. So, so,
Yeah.
so talk about your book and the story, and where can we get that bad boy as well? Talk to me about the protagonist and the underlying theme.
Okay. Yeah. So during my research, I had come across this book from the 1800s because there's very little recent research into Fiji's history. A lot of stuff is being done by like scholars and missionaries and explorers that came in the 1800s, as far back as the 1600s. So I found this book where there was this reverend. He was going around different communities just collecting stories, and he had sort of pieced together this thing called Salanialo, which translates to path of the shade. And it's a journey that because Fiji is divided into different provinces. There's 14 provinces, and a lot of these provinces they have their own belief system. They have their own gods. They have their own sort of spirit animals. So this was
Really?
yeah,
It's like
it is
tribes.
yeah, definitely, yeah, like tribes, but yeah, and but a little bit more intricate. Like certain tribes, sort of these guys are like teams, and these guys are teams, and these guys sort of they have this thing like that. They even have a thing where certain tribes back in the day, because they wanted to prevent intermarriages. They were like, that village is where we're gonna go get married. So they would swap, youths from there to sort
Interesting.
of keep a clean bloodline kind of thing,
Oh,
and now
interesting.
that's
Wow.
in and now that's involved into a thing where if you're from that village, uh, they do things like they'll make fun of each other, or they'll tease each other, or
Okay.
it's like little traditions they have. Yeah,
Yeah.
so my story was from the eastern provinces of Fiji, and it wasn't like it wasn't a very cohesive story. It was like bits and pieces of it. So I worked with this wonderful man named Simoni Sevendrendre from the Itoke Cultural Affairs Ministry. Itoke is the people of the land. That's the sort of the name for the indigenous Fijians. And
Mm.
so he does all the cultural advising. So because I am, even though I'm a Fiji citizen and I'm a Fijian, I'm an Indian. I'm an Indo-Fijian, as they might call
Okay.
me. So I didn't want to be this. I didn't want it to be disrespect. I wanted to do this thing with the uttermost respect for the proper Itoke culture. So I worked with a cultural advisor, and he helped me sort of
Oh,
flesh this
wow.
story out. Yeah, and it took about maybe about 3 months of research to get this thing. Aside from my like 6 months of actually studying Pacific studies, 3 months of research to get this book together. So we would sit down and we would grog kava. Have you ever heard of kava?
Yeah, I've heard cover. Yes.
Yeah, so we would have these kava sessions for 2 3 hours where you sort of we would drink and just share like all these stories about myths and legends
That
and
must have been fun.
spirits. It was trippy, man. It was very trippy. Like I even met this one dude who was like just casually like, I'm like, what do you do? And he's like, oh, my sister's a witch doctor. I'm her assistant. I'm like,
Huh?
oh, so what kind of stuff do you guys do? Oh,
Sit
possession.
down.
Yeah, he was like, oh, possessions. Someone gets possessed. They call my sister. We'll go down, and
Say
I was
word.
like, what? It was very
What?
interesting. Yeah, it was interesting
What?
that in this day and age there were these people that had this belief system or this cultural
Wow.
system that was still very connected to things from their past. Because I mean, despite the colonization, despite the Christianity that's in the country, despite
Mm.
modernization, there's still a very strong traditional
Don't
belief
you worry,
system underlying.
Clarence. I'm Puerto Rican, so I do come also from a colonized island in the Caribbean.
Right.
So
Ah,
I understand. I'm
yeah.
a fellow island mate, sir.
There we go. Yeah, so that's how the book came about. A lot of research, and so the
Nice.
main character in the book, he is he doesn't have a name. Later on, I wanna I found a couple of names only because I wanted to give him an authentic Fijian name. Because nowadays, a lot of the names in the country, like we have like Tevita. Tevita is
Devita.
actually the Fijian name for David.
Oh, word. Devita
Devita.
is there. Okay,
We have
Devita.
Solomone, and Solomone is Solomon.
All
Things
right.
like that. So a lot of I'm working with for the second book. I want the character to have a name, but I'm trying to find a name that's not from a colonized name, like an authentic old school Fijian name. So I haven't given him one yet. So in the
Nice.
first book, he's just a nameless Fijian warrior. They call them
Okay.
Bati, which is the word for the
Bati.
Fijian word for warrior. Yeah,
But yeah, man, I
which is
definitely
also
got a
the
whole colonized name, Alexander.
oh wow. Well, I'm Clarence. Hello, how are you? So yeah, so Bati, that's also the name of our sevens rugby team. They're the Fijian Batis. Yeah,
Utu
Fijian
Batis.
Warriors. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, so he's a Bati making his journey through the afterlife. And the interesting thing about the journey is um the final destination is a mountain range called Nakovandra, which actually is a physical place in Fiji. It's an actual mountain range, but it's a little
Ooh,
bit like it's a bit like that show Stranger Things, where there's
okay.
like the real world version of Nakovandra, and they also believe there's like an upside down spiritual version of the same thing.
Ah,
So if you get the book, see, like that's the spiritual realm. Oh, there we go.
okay.
And on the
I
back,
see.
I've got the actual realm. It's like the
Oh,
actual
okay.
mountain range. Yeah. So yeah, and then in the book, like
Gotcha.
to donate to show the different realms that we mess with like color palettes and things. So the red is
Ooh, look
the
at those
spiritual
pages.
world.
Oh, look at
Ah,
that panel work, son. My
ah.
gosh. What a tease. Look at that. So it looks so cinematic, that page right there.
Oh,
How
thank you
many
very
panels
much.
you using? Jeez.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah,
Look at
I
that.
just Oh, well, I'm trying to line up my camera. There we go.
There you go. Oh my God. Oh, look at that.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, so there's and all the dialogue. It's mostly like a visual journey. I took a lot of inspiration from like I was watching that show Primal a lot.
Oh,
Gandhi Tarkovsky. I
yes,
love that.
bruh.
Yeah, that's
Best
some cool stuff.
animated show. That needs to win awards because man,
I
that
think it
is
did.
the
Yeah.
best and most heartbreaking show ever.
Mm-mm. Yeah. So and even like I read a lot of like I was reading a lot of Mobius, and I was reading a lot of. I love anything that has a strong visual narrative. You know,
Yeah.
I like
Oh,
to I have this thing
yeah.
where I want to draw what I can't write, and I'll only
Yeah.
write what I can't draw. You know,
Understood. I mean, and you definitely can't get no better than a primal, for example, in an
right?
animated form. No
Yeah,
words. The artwork, the movement tells the
yeah.
story. Ah,
So the book actually has like it's all like it's like silent. You know,
ooh,
yeah,
good. So you did that intently silent.
yeah.
Let the
So
art
but
speak.
there is some dialogue in it, and the dialogue that is
Okay.
in it is in Fijian, and it's got the translation at the bottom.
Hey, old
So
school.
yeah, so you
Nice.
can go through the whole book and sort of piece the narrative together yourself. But at the end, I do have like an explanation of my research and what the like the explanation for the
Ooh.
research and what the journey actually is, just to give it some context in case because context is everything. You might something that might mean something culturally to you or something that might seem normal in your environment in the Fijian context it might be different, you know. So you can sort of I wanted people to go through the book and piece it together themselves and have their own journey, but then also be able to like learn what the actual context and meanings behind everything is.
Oh man, and what's up, man? Where can we get this book? Actually, before we can get about getting the books, this is just you campaign, Clarence. Is this all you, or do you have a team behind you?
Well, okay, I did the book all by myself, and
Well, look at you.
the layout and everything.
Where do you
Sean
keep the
Robbins,
hats? You should have all the hats there,
I
artists.
should, right? Yeah,
Yeah, you can
yeah.
keep changing them.
Illustrator
Excuse me.
InDesign and yeah. Um,
Nice.
and the other so it's published by Living the Line and you can buy it from their website, which is Living the Line Books, and
Well, you mean that one
it's
right there on the bottom,
that's the
and
one.
people
Yeah,
can just
yeah. You
yeah.
can if you go to
Ooh.
the shop, you can buy it there. But it's also distributed through Diamond Distribution, so it should be available at most comic shops in your area. If it's not, you
And
can
if
probably
it's
just.
not, they better order it, right?
I hope so. Yeah. And the interesting thing is, I think it is a bit of a hard sell because when we were initially talking about the book with the publisher, when we were doing pre-orders and stuff, there was some talks about like, oh, you know, it's doing okay. It's not as it's not like it wasn't performing as well as some of the other books because it is a bit of a niche story, you know, like
Yeah.
it's and maybe genre and style. But in Fiji and the region, it is doing very well. It
Oh,
like
that's
yeah, like it just
because
it's
they see
so like
themselves in something that they normally
that's
haven't.
yeah, that's yeah, exactly, bro. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And here it was like on the news. It got picked up by
Wow, really?
ABC, which is Australian Broadcasting. They did a
Hey,
story on
check
it.
you out, son. Nice.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm so grateful. And it was picked up by this thing called Tangata Pacifica, which is like the biggest cultural online platform of the for the
Oh,
region. And they did a
wow.
story on it. So and the
Look
interesting
at
thing about it,
you. Nice.
oh, thank you. But the interesting thing about it was it's being picked up by people who don't necessarily read comic books, but
Good.
they want it. But yeah, but it's like, what is this? It's from Fiji. It's a cultural thing. So it's being picked up by like people like just like not just like young kids or comic book nerds or whatever. It's like people are just buying it out of the interest of seeing something from Fiji, I think.
Different.
And I really
Yeah.
yeah. And I really hope that it encourages other artists from the region to just get in on this because we've got so many cool stories and so many amazing like things to draw from to make our own comic books.
So why not?
And
You tell them to
you
line
know,
up with you in the creation of the Das verse of Fiji, and it
I'd
make
love
it
to.
happen.
Yeah, no, I'd love to. I hope I hope. I mean, I know a lot of artists locally. There are great
Make
illustrators
it
in Fiji,
happen, bro. A
but
Fiji publishing team. Come on,
oh
get
man,
it,
yeah, that would
Clarence.
be great. That would be great. Yeah, that is the dream. That is the dream. Just have all these amazing artists. The thing is, in Fiji, even though we come from from a culture, the Fiji culture is it's all art and oral tradition and dance and music. Um, Illustrating in Fiji is still sort of, or commercial illustration in Fiji is still it's not very successful
My brother,
financially.
that's
Yeah,
yeah. It's not about even success. It's something that they don't look at as being real. I think that's just
right.
our color issue.
Yeah,
Parents believe no, that's kid stuff.
yeah, yeah.
They don't
So,
understand it. So I think that's
so
something across all of us that look like this.
maybe, yeah, true, man. Yeah, true. Like when you look at like countries like France or Europe and stuff, and they take the comic form as serious
Yeah.
business, you
And
know?
because they encourage art, they
Yeah,
celebrate. Parents celebrate. Oh, you want to go ahead? Over here, it's
mm-mm.
like that's not a real job.
Right,
It's
yeah,
frowned upon, unfortunately, and that's horrible to creative, potential, if you will. And then
right,
some people like yourself, say, hey, screw that. I am who I am, and others, unfortunately, maybe could have been the greatest and give up based
yeah,
on
yeah. No,
somebody's
there's a
stupid words.
yeah, so there's a lot of great artists in Fiji, but they do like sort of commercial illustration work. You know, they'll do like stuff for advertising and things like
All
that. They
right,
don't really
bring them
do.
on board.
Yeah,
They'll
I
be
got to,
happy.
I
You
got
know how
to.
many
Yeah,
commercial artists I know that are comic artists that are like,
I'm
yeah,
sure.
and they kick ass. I mean,
I'm
woo.
sure. Yeah,
Oh, I want to see it now, man. Some Fiji publishing. Come on, bro. Bring it, Clarence. I believe in
we'll
you.
do it. We'll do
Let's
it. Yeah,
manifest,
definitely.
bro.
Yeah, and no, it's and I appreciate like platforms like yours, because like I said, in the region, it's doing well, and then thanks to you, I get to share my story with your audience in like the rest of the world. So that's
Oh
amazing.
man.
Thank you.
Well, it's my honor and pleasure. So, Clarence, you gotta tell me, man. Are you gonna be doing any conventions? Are you staying in Fiji? Any conventions in Fiji? Is that a thing? Will you be traveling
Well,
out of Fiji? Will we see you anywhere? Let us know.
I've done a reading of the book, and we had like we were hoping for like 10, 15 people. We got like 30 people show up, so we did a read through of the whole book. That was pretty
Nice,
cool. I am doing some school visits locally as well, because it being a
nice.
cultural thing. A couple of schools have invited me to sort of talk about the book and share the art and
Well,
share the
check
history
you
stuff.
out. Bless, man. Educating the
Thank you.
children. Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you. And we also managed to give a couple of copies to sort of like these book clubs that sort of go out to villages and interior places, and so they'll be sharing that. But as far as like a proper like a con, we don't really have that platform happening in Fiji. There's no.
okay.
It'll just be me with my book if I do it. So uh, a one man,
Hey,
one
man, the
man,
Fiji
a one
Comic
man
Con,
con. Yeah.
super guest, Clarence Dass. Who else? That's it.
Actually, you know what? This is very bad of me. 20 years ago, or maybe 15 years ago, there was a magazine. There was a magazine. It was called Living in Fiji, and they would publish local artists. And
Okay.
local artists would do like 4-page comics and 3-page comics. So
Okay,
there
cool.
was there was a scene. It just never went anywhere. Like I
I
think
get
it
that.
lasted like 2 issues, and it didn't. But the thing is, back then we didn't have. I feel like now, with the Marvel movies coming out and the DC movies coming out, like maybe 15 years ago, you ask someone in Fiji like, "Who's your favorite comic character?" and they'll go, I don't know, Batman maybe. But now, because they've grown up, a lot of kids and a lot of people are sort of used to the cinematic universe of these comic book movies. I think it makes people a little bit more hip to the idea of buying and owning comic books. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
people did try to make it happen once, and I definitely will try to make it happen again. Yeah,
Let's get it. Let's
yeah.
get it. Let's get it. You hear this,
Mm.
folks? So again, let me keep showing. Let me show you one last time over here. You have to follow amazing independent creators that counts right here. So you can follow him on Instagram, Nerdwalla, and the same
Nerdwalla.
on Twitter. All right. And of course, you want this book, you want to check out this book and a whole bunch of other books, but you go in there for this one right now, right? Make it rain. Just to live in the line books. Gotta look at the joint right there. and make it rain. I got the links below too. Make it rain. So, Clarence, before we go,
Mm,
based on your journey and the way that you've done your things, I mean, a fan, a musician, a video editor, comic creator. My God, I mean, what type of advice would you give to somebody also trying to step into the game today?
I would say draw something. Okay, my main thing is I want to draw the kind of books that I want to see more of. So like if there's something you want to see more of, that's what you should pursue. You fill the gaps that you don't see happening on this in the space.
Hmm.
That's the way I see it. I wanted to see a Batman Lovecraft comic. I drew a Batman Lovecraft comic. I wanted to see the Predator take on Ninja Turtles. The Predator took on Ninja Turtles. I wanted to see more Fijian comics with Fijian characters and the cultural stuff. I drew it. So just I think the passion will. Don't be too worried about finding your passion. I think the passion finds you.
Mm.
You can't pick and choose the things you fall in love with. It's just just practice your basics and just draw something that you want to see more of.
You heard that, folks? There ain't no BS. You make it happen. You want to see it, then you do it. Get her done. For real.
Mhm.
Clarence, man, you are nothing but a wonderful guest. I appreciate you being
Thank you
on.
so much.
As a fan to creators, I want to say thank you. Thank you for doing what you do and being brave enough to share your journey and your story. Salute to your friends and your supporters that told you, yeah, get it doing because you're doing it. And thank you. You blessed us with a wonderful project that I can't wait to more people to get their eyes on and see how expansive our world is and how beautiful it is and how many more stories, original stories, out there to be shared by amazing creators just like Clarence. And get it
Thank
done
you.
with the Dass verse, bro. I
I
gotta see
will.
the Fiji Dass verse. Get it done. Or the Fiji verse.
Thank you very
Woo!
much. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. It is my absolute pleasure. Me, gente, you know what it is. I follow the brands, Comic Crusaders, Undercover Capes. Check out all my other people's shows, like Outside the Panels, the Friend of Crusade, No Prize Podcast, K-Pop, Cosmos, Happy Spoilers, Cinema Crusaders, and so much more. Hasta la próxima, mi gente. ¡Huepa! Woo! Thank you for listening to the Comic Crusaders Podcast. If you like the content, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Also, please visit comiccrusaders.shop and our extended podcast family over at undercovercapes.com. And also, make sure to download the Comic Crusaders app on the Google Play Store today.